All right, welcome into today's show. So I've got a unique guest on the show with us today. He's coming all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, Mr. Sammy Ever with 702 in the Kitchen. That's his handle on Instagram. You can check him out there, 702 in the Kitchen. He's also on Facebook at Sammy Ever. Sammy, glad to be connected. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. My pleasure.
So for our listeners, just give you some context here. I know some people wonder how I get connected to all these awesome people. And I got to thank and give a huge shout out to my good friend, Matt Osman with Blinky's Offset Barbecue based out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's the one that got us connected. And I say Sammy's a unique guest because I think he may be our first guest on the show who is not barbecue specific. He just loves cooking, everything, anything. So it's pretty cool. So we always like to understand journey. And if you've listened to the show for a while, you know that I'm always interested in somebody's journey. So let's hear it, Sammy. Paint us this picture. What was this journey like into just this love of cooking?
So when I was younger, I grew up in the kitchen, honestly, with my mom. She was always in there, hosted a lot of people. So I've always had the interest, tasting for her, helping her get the products, the ingredients, cut this, cut that, wash this, and as I've gotten older, it's just stayed with me, the whole kitchen environment. And that's kind of where, I got the whole thing, when I started my Instagram a little bit, it was literally just making a few recipes here and there for myself and just my family. And that's kind of where we're at. It started with the whole just, grab a chicken and just bake it, but now it's gotten to the point where you want to expand out and just try different things and try different journeys. So a lot of it was, honestly, I give credit to my brother and my nephew. They have their handle, which is Sipping and Grilling, as a great account, really, really big into the barbecue industry. And a couple of years ago, he started, and I used to laugh at him. And I used to say, man, you send me all this stuff and you post things. I'm like, you really need to get a life, and stuff like that. And he used to laugh at me and say, okay, whatever, you're just jealous, this and that, but why does it bother you? And I said, one day I said, let me try it, so I started with a little smoker, just a little plug-in, went up. Now I have the Masterbuilt Gravity. Again, it's not the typical Traegers that you all hear about, and things like that. Now I've kind of, really, really gained interest into it. So a lot of it is now really just trying different things, whether it's a brisket, whether it's smoked desserts, whether it's just anything. And, even York Barbecue, known as the meat teacher, always has this thing, that his motto is, can it be smoked? And really, I've learned one thing from smoking and barbecue journey. It's amazing how you learn almost anything can be smoked, literally from Twinkies to bacon wrapped Oreos to cinnamon rolls. No matter what you do that you would cook on a regular oven or something, or air fryer, whatever, can be smoked. Thanks to him, I try a lot of this stuff, and that's really how the journey started. So of course, now being in Vegas, of course, with 702 area code, I figured in the kitchen's a great thing because I don't necessarily just smoke or grill. I love it. It's a great hobby, but I just love cooking in general, just period. And that's my biggest thing, whether it's deep fried stuff at home, whether it's air fried ice cream I've made, just different things. I try to be unique on my site too, where I try to make a lot of unique things, not just your standard things, which of course sometimes you do, but unique is always the greatest experience because you really get to try things and how they actually come out and taste, and it's kind of hard sometimes because sometimes you buy one ingredient you'll use for one recipe, but you got to pay $5 for it or more, but if you're really, really into the hobbyist type thing, that's what it's about, It's about learning and just even tasting your own cooks and learning from your mistakes and just doing better next time. I mean, there's really nothing hard about it. It's just something you got to love, though. I will say cooking is definitely a passion that I have, and I've always loved it. And I think I always will. And now I'm just trying to grow and actually build myself to actually try a lot of different things that I didn't try growing up because my parents never really were into the barbecue scene or the grilling scene as much as I am right now. So that's kind of where my journey's taken me, and that's kind of where we're at today.
I love what you said. I think you said was it the meat teacher? I think he said something to the effect of, anything can be smoked, or at least he's going to try, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're exactly right. I think that I think I would even take that, maybe even a bit broader and say, for me, if I can figure out a way to cook something outside, doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a barbecue or a grill, but like a big outdoor, griddle. If I can cook outside, I'm going to cook outside, and I'm fortunate, and you probably got decent weather there in Las Vegas. It's a balmy, 65 degrees today in Augusta, Georgia. So we're not battling blizzards and stuff like that. But I would say that, just if I can cook outside, if I can figure out a way to do it, I'm going to do it. You will very rarely find me, in the traditional kitchen, so to speak. But I think that's, to your point, it's the passion that I think unites all of us. Doesn't matter if you focus in the kitchen more or you focus out on the grill or the smoker. I think it's that passion behind food, right? That I think it's a common thread with all of us out there, regardless of what food category we might be in.
Yeah, I mean, and I tried a lot of things. Like I said, one of my favorite things, honestly, is to do smoked desserts. Is a great thing. I've tried a lot of recipes from different guys that I've seen online, and you just research and YouTube and other Instagram handles. But a lot of it too is like you just try your own stuff. Put stuff together and just throw it on. I mean, that's one thing I tell people. I've learned from smoking, especially. Actually, smoking's more than cooking. Cooking, you can actually make a bad cook. You overbake, you burn the cookies and stuff, whatever. So they come out hard as a rock. But that's one thing when you smoke is I never really find it that there's a bad smoke. It's just you learn from your mistakes from it. On a brisket, if you overdid it and it dried out, okay, so put some sauce on it. You know what I mean? Make it more moist. If you underdid it a little bit, you can always nuke it. So that's the best part about really smoking is it's very hard to overdo things and really get something where it's just going to go in the trash. And that's the best part about using a smoker. And I sometimes look at these people that smoke all day in the snow and stuff. One handle I follow a lot is these two girls up in Canada, Maddie and Kiki, if anybody's familiar, or Scale and Taylor. I mean, they're out there. I give them a lot of props. I mean, they got blizzards, they got snow coming down. While they're cooking, they're out there just having fun. I mean, that's the main thing I've learned about the smoking industry more than even the cooking industry. Cooking can sometimes be because you're in the hot oven around it, your hands are always hot. But smoking's a great thing because you're outside. If you drink, you can drink while you do it. If you are a smoker of cigars, cigarettes, you can enjoy it a lot more out there and really, really enjoy the weather and the ambiance of being outside. When I started, like I said, I had one little barbecue and one little smoker. Now, I got companies reaching out to me, just because they see your stuff. That's the biggest thing. I'm not a competition guy yet, maybe down the road. I'm not a competitor barbecue. It's more of a hobbyist enthusiast.
Sure.
But you do get a great feeling when you do have companies actually reaching out to you saying, hey, those cooks look really good. We love your page, and it's a good feeling. It makes you feel good, especially if that is your hobby. You're actually gaining something from it and you're meeting great people. I've met a lot of people like Matt. I've met a lot of other guys on my handles that I've made good rapport with, that someday you hope to just meet them in person and go from there. I think that's the greatest thing of the barbecue world and cooking world. I do find that it's kind of like a community. That's the biggest thing. Everybody's there, hopefully, to help each other. Hey, when I was first starting, I was reaching out to people. Yeah, my brother helped me a lot and my nephew on their site, but you start reaching out to the Mats, to these big guys and say, hey, I've never done a pork butt. What do you recommend? What do you use as a binder? Of course, you got people who say mayo, some will say mustard, some will say olive oil. Everybody's got their own opinion. So you find out what's best for you and your motto of how you go to. But my motto, the biggest thing that I tell people too is don't fear failure. Just have the what the heck attitude. What's the worst that can happen? So even a brisket, so it didn't come out 100%, but you still did what you love doing. It's like a sports player, they get hurt all day, but at the end of the day, they love what they're doing. And that's the biggest thing that I tell people in the cooking and smoking industry is do what you love. It's really, really, like I said earlier, that passion.
Amen. I mean, at the end of the day, life is way too darn short to do something you don't love. So, that is absolutely spot on there. And I would say one thing I've learned the hard way, if you smoke anything with mesquite wood, let me tell you, you can absolutely ruin a brisket. In fact, I've done that once where when I say ruined, it was not edible.
Right.
But that's mesquite wood, and mesquite wood has its own flavor profile. I'm always impressed with the pit masters in Texas,
Right.
especially that cook exclusively with mesquite because it is extremely powerful and it burns very, very hot. And like I said, I learned the hard way that yes, it will overpower even a large 18-pound, 20-pound brisket. It'll overpower that in a hurry. But to your point, I see generally what you're saying, and that is, hey, look, you overdo a brisket, no big deal. Chop it up, put it in some beef broth, make a dip out of it, whatever. It's not the end of the world. And I think, going back to what you said, I love that, don't fear failure. At the end of the day, right? So what if you cook something that's bad? Nobody died. You didn't get hurt. Yeah, you might have spent some money, and so I get that part. But at the end of the day, I think that you're either gonna learn or you're gonna win. I don't view it as like a win loss, type of a thing. And one thing I'll say for our listeners that really impressed me about Sammy is that very, very few people reach out to me to ask if they can be on my show. Anytime that they do, and it's been very few and far between. I think, Sammy, you're the second one out of 43 episodes. So it's very few and far between. But one thing that taught me is that person in your case, so Sammy, is you're passionate, right? Somebody reaches out to me, I'm like, you know what? I want them on the show. They're passionate about cooking. Those are the kinds of folks that I think are going to help the next generation learn how to cook, because I do think it's somewhat of a lost art these days. It's funny. My wife gives me a hard time. I refuse to go to a steakhouse in our area because, and this is just me being confident, I can cook a better steak than them. I
Right.
mean, I look, and I think, one thing I was going to mention, and this is also helpful for our listeners, that if you are looking to get into any sort of competitive food, whether it's World Food Championships, whether it's sanctioned barbecue contest, check out the Steak Cook-Off Association, the SCA, because, and you may have some out in your area, very low threshold in terms of financial commitment to enter. From a time commitment, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to cook a steak. And they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. And you know what? I'm a competitive person. You probably are too. I like that aspect of working under pressure and competing and, getting better. So yeah, I love the passion. It always, is exciting to have folks like yourself on the show that just have this passion to, not fear failure, go head in and try new things. But one thing I want to camp out on is, you brought it up a couple of times, so I want to camp out on it, and that is smoked dessert, because that is unique, right? We've talked about on this show, we've talked about ribs and brisket and beef short ribs, and we've talked about pork loin and pork butt and chicken. We haven't talked about smoked dessert, and I'm curious. So let's camp out on that for a second. What's your favorite, or what's your best smoked dessert? Is probably the better
So,
question.
it's hard to say really what my best is. Everyone's got its own unique flavor, but I've done stuff like crazy stuff like a smoked chocolate lava cake, stuff
Wow.
like that, where you just dip into it and the chocolate just melts right there from the smoke. Or I've done, I was inspired by, like I said, Maddie and Kiki did once a smoked bananas. What they did is they like carved open the bananas and you put like Hershey's in it and chocolate, and it just melts with marshmallow all over it. Bread puddings I've done, apple pies, just standard apple pie, peach cobblers, you can throw on there. I've been on the show with Grab 'em in the Brisket, they hosted that recipe and stuff, just the peach cobbler type thing. So every dessert really, really has its unique taste. And it's kind of funny because my fiance, with the whole dessert thing, especially, she always hears these things. And I'm like, hey, well, I'm going to try this weekend. And right away, she's like, that's gross. Like, it just doesn't sound right. You don't think like, what's
Right.
smoked dessert? Like, or a lot of foods, but especially the desserts, and then she winds up eating it and loves it. And she's like, you got to make this again, blueberry cobblers, just different things. Like I said, anything can be smoked. But I probably, if I had to pick one, literally the peach cobbler thing was really probably my go-to on that, or the chocolate lava cake was probably my two biggest favorites. And one thing about me too is anybody that ever reaches out to me that sees something, I don't mind sharing the recipe. A lot of people I know, They don't like sharing their recipes, which is their go-to, but me, I like inspiring others. I like sharing. I like, sharing the wealth, and when it comes to that, I love doing it. Just like, I get a lot of guys, I tell people in the smoking industry, one thing that I love about it is there's so much out there to find and learn. We're all familiar with the big companies, the Traegers, the Meat Shirt, they're all out there. Of course they are. But one thing I tell people when getting into this industry, start doing your research and learning about stuff. That's what got me into the smoked desserts, because I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. I'm like, it really sounds gross when you hear it. But then when you see the actual cook and you see it actually, the chocolate kind of bubbling, and you're like, oh my God, this thing is amazing looking. You can't wait to taste it. But the same thing goes, with rubs, sauces. There's so many little companies, mom and pops, that were struggling during COVIDs, and they're around. That's one thing that this industry has taught me, is from research. I cannot believe how many companies are really out there that do homemade spices and rubs and sauces. And, even one of the things I do for the desserts a lot, there's a guy, Uncle Steve's is his name, Uncle Steve Shake, if people are familiar. He does a lot of dessert shakes, which have like a cinnamon sugar type thing that throws on it. Or a Kim Gower has like a cookie dance that is made for desserts, unique for desserts. Or Bees Rubs has an apple pie spice little rub that you throw on there if you're making apple pies. So that's one thing I tell people, even desserts, there's some sort of spice rub seasoning for it that can boost that cook up and just make it unbelievable flavor. But smoked desserts is really, really I love cooking anything, but the desserts is really the unique thing that I really love doing a lot and trying more than anything.
I love that. Both the peach cobbler and the chocolate lava cake sound amazing. Now, I know you said you've got a master built gravity feed.
Sure.
And now, is that what you're cooking? Is that what you're using to cook the peach cobbler and the chocolate lava cake?
I did. On those, I actually did on all my cooks were really mostly on the master built gravity, where I just use lump charcoal. That's my go-to. I like it over briquettes. I just find it burns a little bit better. Yep. And lasts longer, and the flavor's not, it's just a standard oak type thing, which is really good. And it lasts, yep. Lasts really long. It doesn't burn fast like some of them out there. The lump compared to some things. Now, like I said, I have had some companies reach out to me. So I've had, my new thing that they sent me was from Monument Grills, that sent me their new pellet grill. So I've ambassador with them now to actually use their product and go into the pellet industry a little bit. And that's why Bear Mountain has reached out to me to use their pellets, which so far, I must say, are great. And even that, even Bear Mountain, for instance, they have a lot of product that people say, well, I don't smoke, so what good is it for me? Well, they even have things that are called like smokeums. You just throw them on the barbecue and it expands and kind of makes its own smoke flavor, so there's so much product out there within the cooking industry, but yeah, the Master Built is a great product as well. Real easy to use. It is kind of, a lot of people, when you start getting into, the Weber kettles, that's real work versus a Master Built plug and go, they say, Traeger type plug and go. But sometimes it just works better for you, because they're Bluetooth, and that's a nice part about some of these mechanisms and devices. They make it really more comfortable for you, because you literally can work in your home and do what you got to do and work on a project, the DIY, while you got the cook going, So that is what I have used, but I am getting into the pellet industry now a little bit, working with Monument and Bear Mountain directly.
So I think you're going to love the pellet grills. And that's really what kickstarted my journey, 3.5 years ago into this whole thing, as I was fortunate. Now, in the Augusta area, Traeger's a bad word. So in the Augusta area, it's RecTech.
Right. But RecTech's another one,
But no, I'm just teasing. But that's what kickstarted it for me. And I was fortunate to win a RecTech pellet grill just through a charitable organization. I bought a raffle ticket around Christmas time. And anyway, what it did though is it expanded my thinking, because up until then I just had the old school black Weber charcoal that I'm sure everybody has had at some point, in their life, and they're great. That's how I was taught, and my dad taught me how to cook on a Weber charcoal. But you are limited, right? You're limited with what you can do, and so I think bottom line, you're gonna love the convenience of that pellet grill. And here's the deal: at the end of the day, in my opinion, the truly great, not the good, but the truly great cooks, the truly great pit masters are the men and women who can come in, and no matter what grill or smoker you give them, they're going to create something extremely good. Right. That's really because I hear a lot, of course, in the barbecue world, there's this mantra, maybe it's, this testosterone fueled, ego driven, I'm not sure, but there is, to your point, like I'm not going to use a plug and go, I'm not going to use a pellet, I'm going to be a real man and put wood in the firebox. And here's what I say to that. If you have to define yourself as a man or a woman by the type of smoker that you use, then I really think you ought to take a hard look in the mirror. Because that's probably not the best measuring stick of what you're really going after. But I think the ability and your ability, right, to go from indoor cooking, in the kitchen, whether it be propane or electric, and then boom, you're outside on a pellet grill or a gravity feed, which is, in my opinion, a great cross between a stick burner and a pellet grill, because you get that quote unquote real wood, even though I know pellets are real wood, but you get that real wood, but the convenience of, hey, I don't have to stay up all night and, sleep is good. Right.
And what's funny is even with the gravity or whatever, trust me, I'm always afraid. I'm like, if I'm doing a brisket and all nighter or a pork butt and I know it's going to be, or a full chuck roast, we're not talking poor man's burnt ends. I'm just saying just a full chuck roast or whatever, when you start getting that stall and stuff, I mean, I've had some briskets take 20 hours, 22. I've had some take 11. It all depends on the cut, depends on the meat. And that's one thing. I don't trust it either to stay up I stay up all night. I watch it. I'm in, out, things like that. But that's even one thing too in the smoking industry is people will notice every cook is different. You can have 10 briskets and every brisket or pork butt or chuck roast will come out with a different flavor, different smoke ring, different, time wise, it can be a 12 pounder. You can do 10, 12 pounders, for instance, and every one of them will come out different. And that's the best part though, about smoking is you're really looking forward to it, to see what the creation was. That's the biggest thing that I tell people in that industry is really seeing and waiting for that final creation of what you created directly from scratch to finish, and things like that.
Absolutely. And one thing that I'm curious about is, along this journey that you've been going along here for a couple of years, right? So
I probably started, I would say about a year and a half ago. I kind of got into the smoking a little bit more than just the standard cooking.
So where I'm going with this is I'm sure there's some listeners out there that say, hey, you know what? I love cooking and I want to share my knowledge with the world. What are some of those challenges that you were able to overcome in the early stages of growing your online presence, specifically your Instagram 702 in the kitchen? What were some of those challenges that you faced early on?
Some of the biggest ones were you ask yourself, am I doing it right? I mean, you'll ask a million people on a pork butt or brisket, for instance, do I wrap? Don't I wrap? Is it going to dry out? Is it not going to dry out? Do I use butcher paper? Do I use aluminum foil? There's a million ideas, and you ask 20 pit masters and you're going to get 21 ideas, not 20. Everybody's got their go-to. So that's the biggest challenge you face is, am I doing it right? Do you even, how's this going to come out? You're always scared. Did I waste this whole piece of brisket? Did I not? And trust me, there's been times when I've told my fiance or I'll call my brother during the cook, man, this thing's going to suck. It's going to come out bad. It turns out the funny part is those are your best cooks. The one that you think are going to be the worst wind up being the best, or vice versa. You think this one's going to be bomb and this one's going to be it. This is the best one. Turns out to be your worst one. Again, but to remind the listeners, there is no worse or bad. You just learn how to better yourself for next time. And that's the biggest challenge. When I first started, I was like, I didn't even know if I'm doing things right. I would call my brother literally during a cook 50 times, that stall. Oh my God, the stall's been for 5 hours. Hasn't moved. I'm at 160. Now it's 158. Well, don't worry. You're fine. Especially when you first start. Now that you a year and a half in, you're like, you learn your lesson. You're like, oh, great. Here's the stall coming, and then you're like, all right, I guess I'll go to sleep for a little bit. You know what I mean? But that's the biggest challenge you face. And, also the challenge too is, am I using a correct rub? Is this seasoning going to be good on it? You got so many all-purpose out there. And then you got some that got a little bit more spice to it and a little bit SPG, the salt, pepper, garlic. That's a challenge too you face is it going to be salty? Is it not going to be salty? That's your biggest challenge with smoking. one thing it's taught me, I've learned my lesson on a few cooks is if you're doing a low and slow, salt, pepper, garlic will work. You're not going to oversalt it. You do a short, slow cook of an hour, let's say a tri-tip, an hour and a half, you're done. And then reverse sear, use something with too much salt, you're going to really make that salt. But that's the challenge you face is every piece of meat is really a different type of cut and a different type of seasoning needed to be used on that. That's the biggest challenge I face. But you learn from your mistakes and you just move on, and you ask people. And that's really what's the glorified part about what I love about this hobby is you learn from your mistakes. You're not the only thing I've ever hurt myself smoking is burn my hand. Maybe that was about it
Right.
when I pulled something out. But other than that, no harm, no foul. You just move on. You learn and continue to grow. And all right, next cook's going to be better. That's the motto you got to have is I'm going to learn from that and make it better next time. But that's the biggest challenge you face.
And that's great insight because I know there's a lot of people out there thinking the same things that you were thinking a year and a half ago. Am I doing this right? Do I sound okay? And the reality of it is that really, when it comes down to it, there's no right or wrong way of how you go about doing it. As you said, you ask 20 people, you're going to get 21 different opinions. And I think it's all about finding what works for you, whether it's wrap in foil or butcher paper, or do you wrap or do you not wrap? Don't be afraid to try those different things. And I do want to make sure as far as like the peach cobbler and the I know we've got some folks probably listening that are just sitting there going, hey, I need to know how to make this. So definitely I want to include that in the show notes, those recipes for your peach cobbler and your chocolate lava cake. But I also wanted to camp out on tri-tip. And the reason is because tri-tip is a what I would consider a delicacy, if you will, out west. Tri-tip is not very common on the East Coast, in the Southeast. It's not a very common cut. I can find it, but you're not going to find it at a restaurant. You're not going to,
It's funny because my brother who lives in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that's where I'm born and raised is Florida. He has a very hard time finding tri-tip. I mean, every now and then, very seldom, we'll find a wild fork maybe. But even, Whole Foods every now and then. But even he tells me some of the tri-tips is the quality is just not there.
Right.
West Coast tri-tip is like a delicacy here. Like literally, you can go anywhere and find a tri-tip. Even from the smallest grocery stores to the biggest, you'll find tri-tip. But I honestly, smoking meat, brisket's great. Don't get me wrong. Pork butt I love. Chuck roast, poor man's burnt ends. Can't go wrong with any of it. But I'm going to tell you from smoking community, I tell people one of my favorite and easiest go-tos piece of meat is that tri-tip. Yep. It's just got the most amazing flavor, easiest to smoke. Literally, you're at 120. I pull it, reverse sear it on the grill, and I'm done. It's literally an hour and a half cook at the whole thing from start to finish. And
so you're cooking it like a steak then, almost like a steak.
I do, yeah. I smoke it till about, I would say on the gravity, I'll throw it on probably about 115, 120. I'll get I'm OCD with my stuff. I don't like having the flare ups and stuff. So I don't like in my smoker all the grease. So I use my drip pans, this and that. And then I don't even revert. The gravity honestly can go up to like 600-700 degrees, but I don't do it because I like my stuff clean. I mean, it's pristine, clean, like it's brand new almost still. Right. And then I just change it over to the actual barbecue. And then I just reverse sear it 3 minutes on each side and done. And then I'll rest it. And that's one thing too, is for the listeners, a big part of smoking is that resting of the meat. A lot of people aren't familiar with that. And that's a challenge you do have too, to go backtrack on that question is you get all these things, these cooks, and you're like, man, I want to try that right now, that brisket, I'm going to cut into it. It looks amazing. That bark on it, it's I got to try it now. But the biggest thing is the resting of meat is the kicker to any type of quality meat and the true flavor. I mean, when I first started my journey, I would an hour and a half on a brisket I would do. Now I've gotten to the point where I've learned I literally will let my brisket rest for 5 to 6 hours.
Wow.
My brother and I always joke around. We're like, all right, going in for a nap because that brisket, because literally the taste is so much better and so much more unique and that flavor really, really kicks in. Even on a tri-tip, you've got to let it rest at least 15 to 20 minutes on that slow steak type cut. You can't just, and biggest thing, go against the grain. You go with the grain, you're really going to get rubber. You're going to get chewy a little bit. That's a big challenge too. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I do call my brother and my nephew a lot on sipping and grilling and ask them, I'm like, all right, give me your opinion. Where's the grain on this? Because sometimes it's hard to find,
It is.
especially after you got the rubs on and stuff. But that tri-tip is, I'm telling you, that tri-tip is really, really probably in my opinion, the best cut of meat for a smoking reverse sear style.
I love that. So what's your go-to rub with the tri-tip? Do you have any go-to rubs that you use?
Honestly, on a tri-tip, I'm not gonna lie, I got a lot of rubs. I got a lot of partners that reach out to me. I mean, my fiance is ready to kill me, literally. Like trust me, it's like enough, enough, enough. No more rubs. That's the biggest joke in the house. No more. No, I'm like, you never can have enough. That's one thing because every type of rub has a unique flavor. But on the tri-tip, I would say literally salt, pepper, garlic. That's literally on a tri-tip the route to go because you get that garlicky, peppery, not too salty. But when you start a little bit on a tri-tip, starting to go with all purpose, and it just got a different taste. Tri-tip is just literally a salt, pepper, garlic, rub, and literally that's it. And you can make your own too. A lot of people, they don't. I mean, there's what's called like my brother and I found, thanks to him, he inspired me to make it. He has a rub that he kind of made himself. It's called a Dalmatian rub, which is literally just salt, pepper, garlic, a little bit cumin thrown in. Sometimes I just use my homemade stuff that I do at home. You can make, a lot of people don't know that you can literally make your own spices and rubs how you feel, but definitely salt, pepper, garlic's the go-to on that tri-tip. You can't beat it.
I love that. I love that. Now you're going to make me want to go out and try to find some tri-tips so
It's hard over there.
We can cook it up. How about sirloin flap? You ever cook sirloin flap?
I do, and even on that, it's any type of steak. A lot of times it's literally just a salt, pepper, garlic, Montreal steak. One thing of great product out there's a lot of people aren't familiar with it. Any type of steak is Alfregoni makes a great grilling salt. It's not really too salty, but it's got like crystallized salt. And that thing I usually put that on first on any type of steak I do. And then I just put the rub or the salt, pepper, garlic right on that sirloin after. And it goes right on the grill like that too. Steak, honestly, most of the time, I'm not a big smoker on steak. A lot of people I know they'll throw for a little bit. If I'm doing a ribeye, sirloin, any type of just standard type of steak like that, I'll just literally just reverse sear it, spice it up, olive oil binder, a little bit spices, and just throw it on reverse sear. But a lot of people too, like even my top sirloin is a great piece of steak. It's cheaper. A lot of people aren't familiar with it. You can make some great meat out of top sirloin or beef jerky out of it. Top sirloin, if you make beef jerky, smoked beef jerky with some Worcestershire sauce and some teriyaki, let it marinate for a couple hours, throw it on the smoker, dry out. You got some great beef jerky there, just from some cheap top sirloin. You don't have to go. That's one thing in the barbecue community and grilling is, yes, I will say it can be an expensive hobby. But hey, especially living in Las Vegas, it's cheaper than gambling, cheaper than smoking, cheaper than alcohol, So, and it's a fun job, it's a fun hobby. So that's the biggest thing. So even when it comes to meat, you start learning what your go-tos are. Pork's pretty cheap. You can make so many smoked things. Pork is honestly, I tell people, beef and pork are my two go-tos on the smoker, more than chicken. Chicken to me, I do it, but if I had a preference, it definitely beef and pork is my go-to when it comes to meats for smoking. You can't beat it.
Yeah, I love the reverse sear on a steak is really tough to beat. And for our listeners, if you're sitting here wondering, well, what the heck is a reverse sear? It's exactly what it sounds like. You literally put that steak or the tri-tip, on a smoker at 225, maybe even 200, and just let that thing ride, let it absorb that smoke. I usually take it up to about 100, 105 internal temp, and then I pull it off, let it rest a little bit, and then it goes right on. I've got a Rectech bullseye that gets up to 750 plus and goes right on there for about 90 seconds each side. So it's a phenomenal way. It's hard to mess that up. And one big reason why, like, my wife loves it and hates it because I never want to go to a steakhouse because I just know that it's probably not going to be as good.
Same way. I mean, once you start cooking at home, that you realize when you get in the smoking world, you kind of say to yourself, well, I can see why these smokehouses charge so much for a brisket, a $20, $22 meal. Before I started smoking, I'm like, man, that's crazy. I'm not paying that. But when you realize the work that goes into it, but then you try it at the smokehouse or this, you're like, man, mine puts this to shame. It's not about tooting your horn, but But when you did it yourself, it's that great feeling behind it. That's the best part about the hobby. My fiance hates the smell of the smoke when I come in the house because it's just, goes crazy with, you just smell like a smokehouse when you come in. Even the animals in the house, sometimes they're even sniffing up like what's going on. But, so one thing too that's taught me, even with meat, when you start smoking too, I find that for the listeners out there, I used to love my steak, honestly, medium well, medium well, medium well. That was my go-to. Not charbroiled, but I couldn't see any pink, medium well, had to be. But even when you get into the smoking and cooking world of the grilling world, the true smoking and grilling world, like I'm trying to get into now and meet great people and pit masters, that have been around for years and champion guys. That's one thing. You wind up kind of, now I'm almost like a medium type guy. You really understand the creation of what true meat is, and you go away from that medium well and burnt and well done, you start changing how you like it because you realize the flavors there when you smoke and grill at home rather than just a restaurant.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And you wouldn't fare very well at a Steak Cook-Off Association event if you cooked it medium rare or medium well, because they want that. A perfect score there would be a medium rare. So, and again, for our listeners, we're chatting with Sammy Ever with 702 in the Kitchen. Make sure you check him out on Instagram. He's got an awesome page. He's always sharing his recipes. We'll have some of the recipes that we've talked about here in the show notes. So, Sammy, as we wind down, what are some parting words of wisdom you would have for those listeners that, just that want to pursue their passion of cooking?
Sure. The best ideas I have and wisdom is, again, like I stated earlier, don't fear that failure. Don't think you're doing it wrong. Don't think, man, this is too hard for me. Just put your mind to it. It's something you'll love the creations you create, and the flavor you create, knowing that you did it. And that's the biggest thing. That failure is the biggest thing. When I started, I'm like I said, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? But you learn. That's what the hobby is. You learn from your mistakes and you move on to the next cook and doing it better. Another, wisdom I have for that is just do your research. A lot of people, there's so many companies out there. I support a lot of them. I share the wealth. But the biggest word of wisdom I have is do what you love to do. Just go out there and be yourself. Don't fear failure. Have like I have. My biggest motto, and people will tell you, my family will tell you, is the what the heck attitude. What's the biggest thing that's going to happen? You blister your finger like me, that's it. So it goes away. But that's the biggest words of wisdom. Don't fear failure. Go out there, be yourself, and do what you love to do. And this is a great hobby for people. Even if they've never been in it, it's a great thing to look into because it is a really, really fun hobby. Once you cook that first cook and it comes out, I find that you'll be hooked on that. And it's like I said, it's a challenge on certain cooks. Some take longer, some take slower, but it's a great hobby that once you do it once, you're in love with it.
I love that. That's a powerful, powerful way to wind down the show. And again, chatting with Sammy Ever, 702 in the Kitchen. Find him on Instagram and Facebook out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City. Thank you again, Sammy, for joining us on the show. I loved it.
No problem. Thanks, Kurt.